Forgotten. Chapter 11. Donation. 2 weeks later, with another trio of sprays from the bottle of window cleaner, Sunny began to gently wipe the cleaning solution across the top glass panel of the still empty Guardian's Wings 4th oak and glass display case. It streaked at first, but after about 30 seconds of rubbing it in, it looked absolutely crystal clear. With that done, she set the cleaner aside, and grabbed the wooden polish, dousing a fresh rag with it, and slowly made her way around the wooden beams and supports. There was nothing in here except for the lighting and empty cases so far, and to be honest, they weren't entirely sure how or even if they were going to use these so far. Counterlogic hadn't gotten back to them yet about a projection method for the castle gems, and for all she knew, they could be utilizing their own display cases to speed up development. She knew that she would have to find places to put all of her dad's collection, most of which thankfully survived Sprout's assault on the lighthouse. But she knew she wanted the gems to be the centerpiece of this wing, so she'd have to figure out how they would be getting displayed first. So for now and every day for the past 2 weeks, she was happy to go over every inch of this empty wing, and clean to her heart's content. So when the time came to begin sorting and organizing, she would be absolutely ready.
Miss Star Scout?
She heard Mystic Cinnamon call as he came in from the center hall.
Oh, there you are. You have a visitor waiting at the front desk. Oh, sheesh, you're gonna put my custodian out of work.
Bundling up the rag and tossing it on the floor next to the bottle of polish, Sunny got to her hooves and sauntered out into the center hall, where a bit more progress was being made with donations and relics from more recent years. Or just as old, but not directly related to the Guardians of Harmony. She came to the front of the building, out of the center wing, and saw the front admissions desk where a familiar face was standing and waiting patiently.
Alphabettle, how have you been?
She enthusiastically greeted the Bridalwood Tavern owner. The stout unicorn stallion likewise gave her a warm smile.
As well as I can be. It's great to see you, Sunny. I've been spreading the word about your museum, specifically the wing that you've been put in charge of, and I've got a donation for you. I consider it important enough to not trust with ordinary mail.
Sunny nodded in understanding. Nationwide courier service was still in the very early stages, and delays and mishandlings were common. It was mostly the reason deliveries to the museum were taking as long as it was, as museum curators were relying instead on independent couriers. But it was better to be safe than sorry.
That's amazing! What do you have?
She asked. Alphabettle ducked behind his side of the desk and sounded like he was unlatching a chest. He came back up with a rectangular item that was wrapped in several pieces of cloth, and set it gently on the desk.
Oh! Who do we have in Bridalwood to thank for this?
She asked, as she slowly began to unwrap the pieces of cloth.
Gloomy Sonnet. She was the poet in my tavern that called out her dance rounds during our little competition. She credits her great-grandfather, who was very adamant about keeping his family collectibles in mint condition.
The stallion replied, and Sunny smirked up at him.
I'm totally down for a rematch one of these days,
she said, and he returned the smirk. Her eyes widened as the final piece of cloth was pulled away, and she stared down at the semi-transparent vacuum-sealed bag, looking positively ancient all on its own. Never mind the dark purple hardcover bound book contained inside of it. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw the 6-pointed amethyst star on the front, surrounded by a horseshoe pattern with 5 other gems. She slowly raised her head to look up at Alphabettle, her mouth having dropped open in absolute shock.
I'm assuming that you have a bit more of an idea of what we got here.
Alphabettle replied, taking in her expression. With hooves moving like lightning, Sunny dug into her saddlebag and came out with her smartphone, swiping through the lock screen and hitting the speed dial, putting the phone to her ear.
Hello, Phyllis? It's Sunny. No, I'm not calling about the projectors. I know these things take time. We need a clean room and a high-resolution camera as soon as possible. Can you make that happen?
The unicorn stallion noticed the earth mare was nearly quivering as she listened in to the other side of the line.
Really? Amazing! We'll be right there.
Sunny tapped the end call button and dropped her phone back into her saddlebag.
Mystic, I'm heading out! Don't expect me back today!
She yelled back into the center wing before turning back to Alphabettle.
Come on, wrap the thing back up and let's go.
Well, this is certainly different,
Alphabettle remarked, as he fidgeted in the white multi-piece cleanroom suit that he'd gotten into, honestly a bit surprised that they even had one in his size. He and Sunny had returned the sealed book to his cloth wrap and chest, and had taken straight to what was clearly the biggest employer in town, a large production factory named Coulthard. They were each given visitor passes, and their chest was taken through security while they were taken to get changed. The suit consisted of white boots, body sleeve, and a hood that covered their mane and came up to their faces. A face mask covered their snouts, leaving the only part uncovered being their eyes.
We don't know exactly how old this book is or how long it's been sealed in that bag. The longer the better if the seal is held. But the worst case scenario is we open that book and the pages start coming apart with every turn. A better case would be if it's in good condition to get the pages turned and get them photographed for copying. Best case scenario is that it's in good enough condition to put on display in the museum. We're taking it to a clean room with minimum contamination factors, so if it's in good enough condition to be photographed and lightly handled, it can stay that way for as long as possible.
You're the expert,
Alphabettle replied.
I wish.
Once they were fully dressed, they went through a set of double doors, where they immediately felt a change in the air pressure. The mat they stepped onto was sticky, and was likely meant to get any last contaminants off of their hooves. They crossed through another set of double doors, and suddenly the air seemed a bit lighter. A Canterlogic employee was waiting for them in the brightly lit hall.
You two are with a book? Right this way, ma'am, sir.
The equally clad Earth Pony said, and led them past several doors with glass observation windows, and stopped at the fourth one.
It's right in there. Take as much time as you need,
he said, and then proceeded down the hall. Sunny and Alphabeta looked into the room through the window, and saw that the book had been removed from the chest and cloth wrap and sat on a simple plain table, still sealed in the bag. She opened the door and the pair of them stepped right in. A high-resolution digital camera had also been set up, attached to a bracket that kept it suspended a foot and a half above the table, and also plugged into a screen that was on a separate stand next to the table. Next to the sealed book, there was a set of tweezers and a retractable precision blade, presumably to open the bag. They stepped up to the table and looked at their donation. Taking a deep breath, Sunny extended the blade just by 1/4 of an inch, got the handle on the notch in her right hoof, and then ever so slightly glided the blade across the top of the bag, then making 2 more cuts long ways on both sides of the book, intending on peeling the top of the bag away with minimal movement of the book. With the cuts complete, she retracted the blade and set it down on the far side of the table, taking the top of the bag and peeling the new flap towards her, exposing the book for the first time in unknown centuries. She got the top flap of the bag rolled up, and slowly and carefully pulled the bottom portion out from underneath, setting it aside. The camera had already been turned on, so it was just a matter of getting it positioned. The camera took care of the focusing, and she promptly snapped a picture of the cover, which came up on the screen seconds later. Taking another deep breath, she got the tip of her right hoof underneath the right corner of the front cover, and lifted it, rotating it on the binding, bringing it to rest on the table. The inside cover had a signature on it, elegant and curvy enough that she couldn't really make it out.
Something.
The first page was the title, The Journal of Friendship, by Princess Twilight Sparkle, Pinkie Pie, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Fluttershy, and Spike the Dragon. Sunny stared longingly at the names below the title, almost forgetting to take a photo with the camera up above.
Their names.
She whispered.
I finally know their names.
She took the tweezers and the notch of her hooves, got them perfectly under the first page, and turned it to the table of contents and the preface. She quickly snapped a photo of the table of contents, then slid the camera over to the preface, snapping away before actually taking the time to read it. Preface.
When Princess Celestia sent me to Ponyville all those years ago to study friendship, I was tasked with writing your letters about what I had learned. But soon I was learning as much from my new friends as they were from each other, and we all began to write letters. Inside these pages are the combined lessons that we have all learned during our time together, compiled so that any pony out there can learn the same lessons that we did and understand the true magic of friendship. Thank you for taking the time to apply these stories and life lessons to yourself and those around you. Sincerely, Princess Twilight Sparkle. I don't believe it! This is amazing! This is amazing! I could probably use this as a cross-reference for the gems!
She said excitedly, turning to the unicorn standing to the side.
Alphabetal, I won't keep you. This is going to take me hours.
Hey, don't worry about it. I was planning on spending a day or two here anyways. See the sights of the coast.
The stallion replied.
Well, I certainly hope you enjoy yourself. And when you do get back to Bridalwood, please give Gloomy my gratitude. And tell her that if there's absolutely anything I can do for her, to not hesitate to ask. Because there is no way I can repay her for the insights that she had just revealed to us. I would love to have you both at the reopening.
Alphabetal smiled down at the Earth Mare.
I'll do that, and we'll try our best to be here for that. And when you're back in Bridalwood, I believe I'll take you up on that rematch.
With a final smile, he turned to leave the room, and Sunny immediately turned back to the open journal, carefully turning the page and getting the camera lined up.
Chapter 1, Friendship is Magic.
One could only imagine that she might be staying there for the whole day and night just studying that book. But hey, who could blame her? Now let's get on to our very observant donators. Top donators Peter Coulthard, J10 Man, Darkside, Gauntlet, and only one thing. Zar630, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin Roland, Crazy Killer 557, Stu Hex, Will, Omicron Lyrae, Chris, Dospo, Delta Omega, Jack Cadge, RuneScythe9852, Madman Stan, Leslie Perkett, Drake Love Dragon, Hunter Norman, Stephen Bingham, LineGod12, Sorcerer Constantine, Hud Zaza, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.